And now we're back. So that was good timing.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so I was looking at somebody who says, yeah, I just applied yesterday's learnings and I cannot believe it worked. So somebody had to break up with fear. Somebody else had to break up with fear.
Cool.
And they had to break up being the rebel.
Really?
Yeah, and so I think I'll go talk about that then. The rebel, let's put it this way. What do people, why should I talk about this? It's going to be in my blog. I don't want to talk about this. I want you to read about it. Well, all right, we'll talk about little things. For instance, what do you think a rebel is?
What do I think rebel is?
Without a cause.
Oh my gosh, my life story. So somebody says, I want you to do X, Y, Z. And as a rebel sitting there saying, oh, the hell I will. You're telling me what to do? I don't think so. I will now protest in some way. I will either protest silently, which I did. Ask my mom about my first year in preschool. Or
Mama didn't even know it happened till the teacher and her were talking, and there was still miscommunication.
And they're like, "What's wrong with your kid?" And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" You know, of course.
My kid talks all the time.
Hello, my
mom. School.
Like my mom would put up with what's wrong with your kid. But anyway,
how dare you?
How
She
dare
would be
you?
the meme that would be blaming the teacher, right?
Exactly. What's wrong with the school system? So then they're like, "Your daughter doesn't talk." Oh, she talks all the time. So then they figured out, oh, she's protesting something, right? Okay, so then, and then there's the more vocal protests, which, yes, I participated in. You get your little sign, you go, na, 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 march, 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 be in a rally. There's also the protest of just sarcasm of my teachers wanting me to do something, and I would just be the class clown. I would tell them to F off in so many words. I wouldn't use it directly because then, hello, you're sent to the office. I would do it in a very more creative way. So then there's all these different, there's the way that I dressed for a certain number of years, which was against the system, question authority. This was just how I was raised and what I was supposed to be doing in my world. I was raised on some level to be a rebel.
And a lot of people like being the rebel. Well, there's some of us that can't be the rebel because it's already taken.
I'm going to rebel against being the rebel.
Yes. Because, let's put it that way, let's answer that question. What do I mean by that? Okay, I can't be it because it's taken.
Okay, so...
You're good at this one. Go.
Yes, so...
oh, it's like that movie. Which one is it? The alien...
That I never saw, Megamind.
You still haven't seen it?
No.
Megamind,
You're
yes.
with me all the time. How have you seen it?
I'm going to shove that movie in and make her ever watch it.
Play. Okay, so I want it clear.
Good was taken, so I'll be good at being bad.
Yes, and I want to be clear that I'm not blaming my sister. We both participated in this reality called life, born to the same people. This is what happened. And so she was genius level IQ, gifted and talented, all that kind of stuff. So being the smart one, the nerd, the whatever, excel at everything, that was taken. So then, yes, I was good at being in remedial classes, even though I have a brain and know how to use it. I couldn't be that because of the bully energy that would come at me if I even stepped anywhere near her territory of what she had created for herself. It was a bitch slap. It was, don't even think about it. I just knew, oh yeah, no. Even if I like it, I can't like it.
So here's the question. The rebel, you said that as you felt bully energy. And so if you're here, and, well actually, let's say you're in a line, and I'm putting my hands so that they're in equal balance, so you're in sync. So if you were greeted with a bully energy, then how would you normally respond?
I would withdraw, shut down, avoid the situation, and find myself.
Okay, so she would abandon herself.
I would not. Yeah, it did not bode well for me to stand up to that bully energy. There was no way that I could compete with it. It was like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, and his like 5-minute tirade on something that was just like, I don't know what you're saying anymore. I just want you to shut up because it hurts my head to listen to you. That's what it became. And she knew that she had that power and authority, and so it was just like, it's effing pointless to even engage with this. So
because there wasn't an emotional balance with the other person. They're missing. They take things literally, or they may. That's what they call sometimes that they're living in their digital head.
Yes.
Because they don't have the emotional components.
I wondered for years if she was a robot.
And so, but what happened is that because of this bully energy, it caused you to abandon yourself because you have enough proof that needs to be resolved, but enough proof and that you have run through all the scenarios of how you're going to stand up to it, to get your power back, to be the rebel, attack back. You went through the whole scenario, and to the point, the only way that you could survive was to abandon, or in this case, retreat, and build up your forces later that hopefully, that when it does come back again, you'll be able to at least be able to take and stand on your own. Mm-hmm. And the bully energy, now let me ask you a question. Being the rebel towards your mother, would you say that you had used bully energy? What is rebel? Where's the energy? What's the rebel doing? And if you were put it into terms of the frequency of energy.
I would have, my mom was definitely at it because she was the rebel herself. Then I would have to, come up to a certain level to even rebel against that. And then that took so much life force and whatever to rebel against that. Then I would just go out in the world and be the rebel. It was easier to be the rebel out of the house than inside the house at times. Though my rebellion inside the house at times was just going up in my room, shutting the door, and F you, don't even come and talk to me because I can scream if I need to.
So when you are doing that, you're not in sync, and you're not the attacking, but where's your energy? It is kind of screaming and hollering, but abandoning. Mm-hmm. Okay? From a person that's not a rebel that had to live with rebels, we see it differently. We see that you have all the power, and you sit there and use it and abuse it, and you then are just mean. We see you as the bully.
Right. I can definitely identify. I understand that.
And so there's different ways of looking at this particular, this energy, but it's so important to understand that your RTJP, the right temporal junction parietal lobes, one of its main jobs is to think what the other person thinks. Why? Because it's a part of the survival technique as being human and learning to socially interact with one another. Now, my thing is that I don't think animals have that. I think animals have instinct. Animals have patterns. Animals has a way. Yes, they can bond and they can, cross it. But I don't sit there and think that they use their brain to consciously go, oh, they're thinking of eating me. I don't think. I think instinctively,
it is
understanding the energies and going, oh, wait a minute.
How's it going to play out in this situation?
Right. But if the energies meet, then guess what? So, do animals have consciousness? Everything has consciousness, even a frickin' rock. What type of tools does your brain use versus other things is very important to understand the differences. Mm-hmm. Okay? So and all animals have souls that record. They record their adventure. Do they have a soul that weighs? That was, I can't remember the name of the scientist, but he would measure people that would die, and the moment of death, and then the ounce difference would be determined whether or not that was the soul. How much did the soul weigh? And when he would weigh animals, there would be no difference of a drop. But it doesn't mean that, from what I understand, is I think maybe he is on the right path to some degree, that it does weigh something. But at the same time, I still believe that these animals have recorders and it's different grades, because if you were to open and expand your thought capacity into another dimensional reality of a string thought, what happens is that now you're taking and going further on a belief without limitations, and part of me thinks that yes, you can come in as an animal, meaning you don't have to bring your full soul with you. You don't have to bring those recorders of what it was being human and all of those mannerisms. You can actually leave that part behind and come in as an animal and to experience what it is to maybe take a break from being the soul, or maybe you need to be abused, but you don't need to be abused, because what if you abused an animal and, as some people say, karma, you come back as the animal and be abused. You need to know what the other shoe looks like. You need to know what the polarity looks like, because that is one thing that I had heard my spirit say, is that the only way that we can understand what love is to find out what it isn't. But now that all the pains and stuff that we have with it, we need to resolve and unlearn all of the pain that came with it, so that you can actually be more well-rounded, whole, and be whole. That did not come out good, but it did come out either way.
You're a whole round. That's what I heard.
Well-rounded and whole. I don't know.
I don't know.
But bringing your whole self together, and there is a soul language, and there are symptoms, and there are talks, and and this is important to understand, that you are not just have to be the product of a thought. You are that conscious creator and observer. You do contribute, and you can really contribute by not being so wrapped up into the chemical peptide reaction. Speaking of that, just a little further. They want me to talk about this, they want me to talk about this, and I'm trying to figure out which one in my head should get, who should win.
Who's first?
They says, well, come back to that. We'll talk about the flu in a minute, and which is a group conscious thing, and we're going to talk about that rebel. The breaking up with the rebel. The rebel served you. It gave you much. It protected you. It helped you survive.
It gave me a voice.
Now, the rebel, did it also still have unforgiveness?
Unforgiveness. Meaning that I was unforgiving in that role?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
And you wouldn't let people get away with it?
No.
And what was interesting is this friend of mine, we've been, part of her rebelness came up, and I'd have to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I said pay attention to how you use being a rebel and how it serves you and what you're getting out of this. And so someone came to her. She had worked on them, so she, energetic-wise, was working on them, and they were getting ready to pass. They're in hospice. And so I'm sitting there one day, and the next thing you know, I'm coughing. I'm like, all right, what the heck? And so it got my attention, and so I'm listening, and I hear the person that's dying wants to give a message to this person. And so the chit-chat began, and I said, they're showing me a picture that the one reason they're not leaving is they want you to stop being the protester, the rebel, the angry person, the one that has to do this and do that. And she's like, what? And in her mind, in the conscious state of the age she's in now, I'm not doing any of that. And I says, well, they're bringing up a conversation we had a few weeks back that you said that this person said, blah, 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 and look at the intensity of how it riled you up. She goes, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I said, that is life force that you just lost. What part of you was it? She says, it was my rebel. And I said, what was the one message that person that was dying gave you before? Don't attack. You know, don't sit there and fight. You don't need to fight. And I said, okay, so now the next part is that you this being the rebel, you have to, and she was telling me the symptoms that her body's going through. I said, all right, so let's go and heal the symptoms. And so as we were starting to use hope therapy to do so, she's like, I can't do it. And I said, why? I don't know. I said, because you don't want them to get away with it. She goes, yes. I said, so what's happening is that somebody was a bully to you, which caused you to not abandon yourself, but become the rebel to protect that part, what's left. And instead of being able to resolve it with the person that created it, now you have to
relentlessly.
That's the word. To resolve it, that you end up bringing people in that don't have that signature, but have the signature of the rebel, which is the mirror of you, because your soul don't want you to really be that, or you need to increase to find out what it really means to be a rebel and to step in that role so you can survive more. And you will then take that signature of it, but you can't handle them, so then you'll place it on the next person. Oh, this soul volunteered, which in this case was your mama. And then when your mama wasn't there, you placed it on somebody else. We do this. It's not blaming her. You understand? I'm not blaming her. She understands that this is a pattern. That this is the choices she needed to make were very important to her at the time, and there's no wrong choice. It is what you did. It's what you need to do. And is she still losing patterns? Is she still losing power? And we all do this to some degree. So now that she's done with it on some level, it's been coming back up all the time to be healed. But she'd learned to give it a new face by joking about in it or wallowing in it or taking the next symptom. But because she's healing backwards, you know, she needs to heal this relationship with fear. And what caused her to be the rebel was the fear. And because what are you supposed to do? Because you've already noticed that fear engulfed you, spit you out, but yet said, I'm going to come back and do it again. You're like, oh, hell no! And so you're going to learn to fight to survive, because the weak, what's that phrase? Well, only the weak shall, or only the strong shall survive and the weak shall perish. It has to do with
Darwinism.
Yes, and that's why you have to constantly feel like you have to fight. It takes me back, and I know some of you have heard of it, but going back to Tibet and what they used to do with newborns, because it was such a rough culture and dramatic environment, they would take newborns, put them in the freezing cold water, and after if they turned blue, they told them to pull them out, and if that baby died, then they saw it as a way to
Condition to the environment.
Well, they saw it as a way to condition and help condition the environment and see if you could survive, but it also was, if that child wasn't supposed to survive, then it just helped out the family, because you don't want to take and carry dead weight around.
Correct. It would become a burden.
It became a burden, but it also became a way that it would take away on how you can survive. And so instead of compassionately understanding life, it was a different way of cultures and beliefs. So no condemning. It was just, there's more to the story that we don't know.
Right, and on the flip side is, oh my gosh, every life has to be valuable and sacred, and oh my god, we have to, oh, what are those poor people doing? They don't know what they're doing. And
Cultures.
Right, and that's one culture looking at another culture, and then that's when you get into the blame game and that kind of thing, and that's not what we're doing. We're saying that's...
And the Aborigines, they had lived a certain way, they dressed a certain way, they had their beliefs a certain way, and then we were looking from the outside in, and we're like comparing their life to our life, and we're like, they're doing it wrong, they're abusive, they're that. And so again, we're constantly trying to force our right and wrong, our domestication, our template onto people and places, and oh, you're different, you can't be different. And it goes back to the Spanish conquerors. Oh, you're different, you can't be that, you have to be this way. Ah. And now we are learning that respecting the individuality, so because you do create the whole. And we will talk more about whatever comes up next after this. We're back. So I just wanted to let you know that I was listening on Kiss Me, I'm Psychic, which is on Tuesdays from 6 to 8, and I'm listening in, and I'm laughing with them, and I'm participating in the chat room, and so the funny part is that Christine says, "Oh, who wants a reading?" And so I said, "I do," you know, and the next thing you know, she says, "Okay, we got to figure out who wants a reading." And I says, "I'm waving in the chat room, I do." And so then Mark says, "Oh, well, we're going to bring Brenda on live, because I know she can talk." I'm like, "Oh."
You can talk?
You know, it's funny, because then I said, okay, so I said yes, I got it through Skype, didn't use the video. And my husband was looking at me like, you're going to show up on camera that way? I'm like, I'm not using camera. And he's trying to cover me up with a blankie and everything else. I had clothes on, it was just my pajamas, you know. And so that was just funny, but had a great reading. And everything was good, and so they asked me if I would help come in and be co-host with Kiss Me, I'm Psychic, and that'll be on Tuesday.
6 to 8 Eastern Standard Time.
And it will be this upcoming Tuesday, so look forward to coming in and listening with the whole group that sits there and chit-chats and talks, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about, just like I never know what our shows are going to be about. So I'm excited to look forward to that. Again, we have me and Jen on Medicine Women Reveal. If you look for our channel on Blog Talk, we're going to be doing a live interview with William Whitecloud. I might even bring that over here, and as part as pre-recorded show.
Right.
I'm not sure yet. And then afterwards we do free readings. So we're going to be doing that. Now, we did remember the other night when Jen had a dream about a fingernail that was really long, and it was really about protecting herself. Let's see, I'm not digesting all of a sudden. Is this a touchy subject? No. So then I turned around. Now, we had talked about earlier in the show, we couldn't remember why I said, oh, I don't want to play that. And so I turned around and I said, okay, I'm done being terse with you. You done? Why do you want me to be mean to you? Why? Okay, I'm done. Ah. And it went along with why she has to protect herself, because she's used to people maybe being terse.
Yeah, it's that bully energy coming at me. It is a form of protection.
Mm-hmm. And see, for me, I don't mean to become terse, but I become very short when I know that I only have this much time, and you want me to spend 100 minutes of time, and I've got 1 minute to do it.
Right, and I understand that. Get this done. This needs to be done. Zippity-doo-dah, we're done. I get that, but for regular communication and in relationship, yeah, that's not comfortable.
Yeah, and see, and I was in the middle of getting ready to do the show, and even though it was an hour ahead of time, I have a lot to do. I got to set up the camera, make sure the studio's set. We have to get the computers running. We have to make sure the volume works. There's just so much to do, as well as getting yourself ready.
Correct.
That I had to write an email, and it's like, I don't want to do this. And so it was, come do this, read this, as I'm communicating with somebody else. And I'm very terse, because I know I want to do X, Y, Z, get her done, next. And some people just don't know how to handle that. And I don't mean to be mean, but when I'm serious, let's get her done, it loses all effect.
And it's interesting because I'm having a remembrance of with my ex, that when I was about that, we'd be getting ready to leave. Oh, you don't need to be that way. Relax. What's your problem? And then it was like, okay, so then now that energy was winning. That became dominant energy, and therefore I didn't have the voice or authority in saying, no, I need to get this done. This is what we're doing. If you're going to participate with me, then get the show on the road. No, then I gave into it.
Well, we're going in that what's right and what's wrong, and who do you follow? I mean, but you brought it up. Sometimes it's important to understand why a person is terse without having to take offense. And you use the analogy of the doctors.
Correct.
In the emergency rooms.
Right, they're there to save your life, and if you want placating or whatever, that's why the chaplain's there. We have spiritual care services here. Go talk to the family. We're about saving the life. You can be nice to the family.
We don't have time.
Right.
You have to do it like this.
And I know there's more.
And then I realized I don't have to be angry at myself, because I go into that terse moment where I know there's only vital seconds.
Right.
To do what you have to do. I mean, several events in my life where some people had to be going to the emergency room quickly. At that point, I didn't give a rat's ass what people thought of me. Especially when my son got hit in the baseball bat in the head, and I'm looking at an EMT to come help my son. He's like, I'm like, seriously? That just made me lose all faith, not in emergency workers, but this person. And I just said, okay, in my mind, I said, what do I do next? I looked over, my Reiki teacher says, I got this. I'm sending healing energy. I says, good, that's done. What's the next thing I do? I have to have a purse, because I have to have a license. You can't just drive 100 miles an hour to get to the... I didn't drive that fast, but I did drive according to what I needed to get them there safely. Because all I heard from the ambulance, hey, don't call the ambulance. They're not going to get here quick enough. Just grab him and go.
Right.
But you weren't going to help me grab him, help me understand, apply pressure, do what I need to do. There was no instructions. And so I said, all right. So I said I'll drive, because I've been in situations where I know how to handle the car, and I fall apart afterwards. So I'll handle the car. I'll get us there, doing what I need to do. I don't need no instructions. And so me and my husband grabbed the kid, took off. So there is that part of me. I'm also a resolution person. Boom, 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 boom. Sometimes it's important that, yes, I step back and I listen to the people and how their emotions are. I had a caller the other night, not on Sepia, but on the other show, and this person called just so that they were looking for a comrade. And I am not the type of person that will sit there and support your health. I will listen, but I'm not going to sit there and be your punching bag.
Right, especially if it's somebody that's called in before.
It's the same issue,
and
it's not about it.
And it's not just an advice and bitch show. You know, blah, 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 blah. That'll get the ratings somewhere else. Fine, here we'll direct the traffic that way over to that avenue. That's fine. Go talk to them. You're calling us, that means that on some level you want it to end.
And you knew.
You want resolution. And you knew to come to us because we're going to help you find a way to come to an end of the situation.
I'm a resolution person. I am metal. And I'm more metal than fire these days. But the metal, one of the things that happens, and this is the winter, it's the metal, it is the lung and large intestine. And if we don't release it, it can make us sick. But it is about making sure that things are stored, organized, cleaned. And I live with people that don't see that they need to organize it, or they don't see it as an issue. And it's so you're taking two elements trying to live together. And so when I relax, because that's the right thing to do, just let it go. My body is saying, oh, but you're the winter element. You now see that this is clutter, so then my body starts to become congested. And that's another thing that happens on another level that nobody sees and understands, and they just figured, you're just not right in the head. You know what I mean?
That's when the rebel will come out and I will tell you words that you probably don't want to hear.
But we're trying to always fit into this right and wrong template.
Exactly.
And just like there's drugs, and I'm going to give you one drug for your depression, and that one drug will work. Okay, great. But now it will work for everybody on the planet. It's supposed to do the same thing. Okay, great. But you understand the reason why it doesn't work for some, and why, because you have to get over two things: your own sickness, and then the drug, what the drug did to you, that sickness. But what happens is that every human being has different elements and different frequencies and different things. So when you're trying to apply one drug to it,
right,
you wonder why you get all these different symptoms and you get all these other things, is because the bodies are different.
Doesn't know how to process it because we're being conditioned differently.
Exactly. So when you're living with somebody and you don't know these things, it can become a head-to-head battle. Who's right, who's wrong, and it's not that type of relationship. I just posted one of my blogs about relationships can be hard, and I posted up a 20-minute video with it with healing tools that actually help create a more loving relationship with the person. There's all different kinds of ways that we can become more relative to one another and respect one another. And the more knowledge you have about something, the more you have an understanding that, oh, I never thought of it that way. So you let go, so you don't have to be like a tiger or a dog that has to hold on and tack. It makes sense. So because there's always more to the story. Now, I was reading, and one of our friends here in Sepia got the flu. After they already got a flu shot. The flu shot. Now, I have a lot of problems with that, but that's my issue. And according to her face, apparently she has issues with it too.
I have lots of thoughts.
But anyway, they got the flu. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so then that struck me as the medicine woman, what does that mean? Now, our big book of everything that I look at is called Messages from the Body by Michael J. Lincoln. They're psychological meanings. Meaning that flu shows up in life as. That's how I look at it as. Everything has a reason and a meaning of why it's here. In this case, I think it was Louise Hayes that said it was about collective negativity and her short terms of having a handy-dandy book. The flu says that it's a virus infection, okay, at their mercy. Have you ever felt like you're at somebody's mercy? And when the flu kicks your butt, what happens? You're at its mercy.
That's all I've been seeing.
And so you're getting the experience.
On social media talking about having the flu and not having the flu, and this flu, that flu, he flu, flu powder, whatever.
But it's when you are at that mercy, what does that really mean? I don't have the strength. I can't
Right,
fight back. I don't
You're
have
on your knees.
bended will. Bam!
Right.
You know,
And
do this. You have no choice, but you
it's
have to
one.
act this.
It's
be this.
one.
It's one. They have a feeling of being under the influence of a malevolent force. Did I say it?
Yes.
Ah! Thank you, brain. And of being weak and helpless. It may reflect the vulnerability feelings that accompany times and the process of great change. You have to admit, this apocalypse time, people were upset about, but what it was about was a great change. And we are now in the Bronze Age, and we are creating great changes. And oh my God, that reminds me of the dream I just had. I'll get back to explaining flu in a minute.
Okay.
I could not get out of this loop. And I think it was for a good hour, and I woke up, I went to the bathroom, went back into the dream. Every time, how did it go? Every time, there was like scenarios of life playing out in my head, but all of a sudden it was like, interrupt the character, pull this character out, and inserted a positive character. I'm like, what? So, all of our natural tendencies and part of our instinctual tendencies, I think, in group consciousness, is that you're supposed to be negative, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that, blah, 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 right? I think now, for some of us, because it is in the group conscious part, is simply, we don't have to. Another option has come up. And when joy starts to become your state, I was like, whoa. I woke up happy, which is great. I woke myself up. You woke up crabby, that means you woke up your husband. Just kidding. Isn't that the old joke?
Sounds from beyond, known as the husband.
Okay, so, you know, when you are at the mercy, and guess what? That's a really good sign of that dream that we have now got more options. So going further, flu. And like I said, it reflects the vulnerability feelings. Vulnerability feelings. The central meridian, the front meridian, is the central meridian. And when that is down and there is no aura to protect that, you can't help but feel vulnerable. Which means what? Exposed, that you have nothing to fight back with. Every time you were around your family members, you felt vulnerable. You've lost.
Lost before you even engage in the battle.
And it says that accompanying times of process of great change, and that's where we're at. There is a fear of attack from others and of taking life in fully. So every time you were going, I'm going to do this, your sister said, I'm sorry, that's taken. I don't like you to have what I have.
Right. Or even just being cute, which was not, how to put this nicely. That's not how she was acting, that's what I chose to be, but still that was wrong. Let me put it that way.
Oh boy. But you can't take life in fully, because all of a sudden you're going, yee-hee, and then all of a sudden, bam, it hits you because you feel like it's attacking you. And that's why it says the fear of attacking. She had to become friends with that particular fear. Now, fear is a big general word that covers all forms of negativity, from anger, from violence, to you name it, it's there. So if she became friends with it, then it would not see her as the enemy. Like when she went into high school, she didn't have to become this group of people. She didn't have to become this group of people. She carved herself out. So let's ask her again, what does she mean by this? When you were attacked by the boy and you were wearing pink and you swore, pink's fault, I'm never wearing pink again. But then you went to a school where there were groups of cliques of people that were very mean. And they projected out that anger.
Correct. That's the LA school system.
Yes, and so you knew you didn't want to be that, and you didn't want to be attacked by that. So you became friends with the fear in some form by showing your own attribute, and that's when you said, I can't wear pink, I'm not going to be that. And you carved yourself out to be, what did you call it? Not punk.
It was punk.
Okay, good. Got the right word.
Right, because it was before goth.
Okay.
Which is before emo.
Okay.
Not that I have feelings about it, but there you go.
Ha 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 ha. But anyways, punk. Okay, so she then found a way she could be herself without having to literally become that group, that group, that group. okay, who am I? What am I? What can represent me? And you found it.
Right.
And yet, still give off the air of, I'm crazy, don't mess with me.
Right, we had crazy on our side.
Which means, I can be just as nasty as this group.
Completely unpredictable. Don't poke the bear because you have no idea what's going to go. Our armor was literally like open safety pins and chains and whatever else, and we could have swung it, and if you know...
Yeah, got in the way. Oops, too
Oops,
bad.
too bad. Haha, you're stupid.
Yep, and somehow it's your fault.
Yep.
It sounds like me and bugs and flies. You know what? I put out the energy that if you come in my energy field, that means you want to commit suicide, because that's what's going to happen. I'm going to kill you off, send you to the light.
Or Jen will.
Yeah, the bugs and spiders and crickets.
There's my
Not
bench
crickets,
person.
but, you know, just those little things. You're like mosquitoes, and you're like, seriously? I sending out the warning again. That's the only time you get it. You know. So, let's see. What else is there? They have the experience. So they, meaning people, they have the experience that is very worst is about to happen to them. Now, when I'm reading these things, it's like if you're familiar with it, that means you have a little bit of your life force attached to that belief system. Okay, so if somebody says, well, I don't get that, that means you don't have any life force attached to that system, and you don't have to worry about healing anything out or resolving anything out. But if this is familiar to you and you feel like it owns you, and oh my God, that makes sense, that's the meaning of my life, then that means your life force is being used and going used with fuel in it. So now you get the conscious choice of resolving it. Okay, more.
We should take a break.
Oh, we will take a small break and come back, and I'll read more about flu, and it represents life as. And the flu represents life as. Now remember, if you feel familiar with this, please use a healing tool you can find on mwreveal.com or Medicine Woman with an A, so Medicine Woman, the number 4, the letter U.com, and look under healing tools. There is a good deal of internal conflict, confusion, and susceptibility to suggestion. So the power of suggestion. You know, I don't even listen to anybody. Like, there was a meme that said, oh my God, how are we going to stop terrorism? And the next picture, that was on the TV set. And the next scene, the guy goes click and smiles as if to say, that's how I'm going to take care of terrorism. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to go into the power of suggestion.
Right, it's like turn off the TV.
And so, especially from the world of agreement or the group mind or statistical proofs, in this case the group consciousness, and these are all different sects of that part of it. I said sex, S-E-C-T-S, and I didn't sound like it, but that's what I said.
I know exactly what you meant.
They are the product of severely untrustworthy parenting arising out of the deeply fearful family.
Right, I couldn't say you're being a bad parent, so I would be
sick instead.
Sick instead. Even though they were probably being a good parent protecting me, I didn't feel, you know, the little protester. Hey, I don't like what you're doing.
If I look at it that way, I was a pretty good mom. None of my kids are really sick. Ever. Really. Amen. So, urban hermit. There is insufficient involvement and interaction and among us, but not of us, pattern. Underneath is a buried rage and hatred for their being so alone, alien, and alienated. It comes from the family in which they could do no right as the unrecognized and unacknowledgeable family hoist, upon whom everyone depended and whom no one supported, sustained, or validated. This reminds me of somebody. I love this little girl. And she's a little girl of one of my good friends from school. She lives in another state, but every time she comes to Michigan, she gets severely sick. Just to mention that they're going to be traveling to Michigan, she comes down with being severely sick. Whatever that little girl is associating with Michigan, and we were talking one day, and I realized it was her grandparents. Her grandparents are so negative. That little girl's immune system, there's nothing there. I was watching Donna Eden, and it was cool because she showed you all different ways that you can handle pain. Well, one of them was just bringing light to the area. This lady had a really severe hurt toe, went to the doctors, there's nothing wrong with it, but it is so painful she can't really have anything around it. And so Donna was going, oh, so she did her little thing, and she goes, oh my, let me try this. So she took the light, literally just any light, and beamed it on the bladder meridian. I think it was the bladder or stomach meridian. I'm not sure which meridian it was, and just put light in that particular point, acupuncture point, and it traveled through the whole body. And so then she's okay, we're going to test it, and that lady's like cringing, like, oh my God, before she were to touch it. And then Donna touches it and smashes it. And the lady's going, where'd the pain go? She's been carrying this pain for like 2 weeks. And Donna says, there's no energy, life force, frequency flowing through that particular point. And therefore, it has to be a warning system. It has to be pain. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I'd like to go a little bit further and find out why there's an emotion, you know, what emotion there is, what particular story, what's the story behind why there has to be the pain in there. And a lot of times when you have unresolved emotion, especially anger and rage, it'll just bounce all over, especially in the spinal column, in where your bones are, your neck, your back, all over. That means that you've lost authority somewhere. And when my back went out, I had lost authority. And when I particularly healed and took a resolution and I used the tools to resolve how my thinking kept thinking, the energy was, oh, I just have no authority in this situation. And there was a couple of them, and as I looked at them and brought it down to zero, I could not, what does that mean? Well, before that, your thought process goes nuts. What do I mean by that? Blah, 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 blah.
Spinning out. Thoughts gone wild. Something happens and all of a sudden, phew, it's just...
Too many at once.
Yeah.
And you have to remember when you do that, you're really concentrating on a reality level, consciously, you create really increasingly peptides that are just sometimes just so overwhelming that you can't process those out.
And it's funny because myself or Scott, you'll say something, and because we're so aware of what's going, spinning out, you know, we will actually give voice to the fact, I'm spinning out, you know,
which
kind of, you know, in our comedic way,
yeah.
You know, helps the situation. That's what's going on.
Exactly, and it gives that voice and in this case a picture. But now I forgot where I was going to go. But when you're creating it, so when you have the self-talk that's going nuts and you're then, because you're consciously thinking them, and you can't make the self-talk stop, then you're making all these chemical peptides, then all of a sudden your body starts to ache, symptoms start to appear, and so my friend, when she was working on releasing, I have to forgive them? Oh, no! I says, no, you have to look at the pain of, you dang! She's like, oh, I can do that. I said, all right. So I told her where to hold, and she's like, oh my God! And she types in, I'm having this symptom. I said, while you're healing, breathe through the symptom or else you won't be able to release it. You need to release the symptom. Oh, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, here's another one. Okay, breathe through it again. She had like 5 symptoms just based on, they did it to me. And she felt her energy, life force leave, and they left their gunk on her. I would use cord switching for that, but in this case I didn't. I was using something else. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I feel so much better. And what happens is the self-talk calms down. You stop being overwhelmed because the chemical peptides are burning out. And you then all of a sudden you stop stress in its actions. And you stop the symptoms and you literally come back to balance. That's what we mean to healing tools, is that stress is that it comes back to balance. You no longer have to be the victim of the stress. So I call them resolution tools, and I may just say get rid of the healing tools and call them resolution tools because that's the new energy name that seems to be coming in and keeps tripping me up when I want to say healing tools. I say resolution tools. So if you have any of these, you agreed upon anything that has to do with flu, be careful and understand it's a sign. Don't fall victim to wasting it and going, oh my God, I have to be a product of this. If you're going through a symptom and you're going through it, and usually you can't focus or do anything when you're sick because you are at the mercy. But when you come out of it, remember how sick you were and how much at the mercy you were, and that's what you're going to focus on, is how you're at the mercy. And you have no strength. It's not really any talk as much as it's the feeling state of, and it's how you know it. I swear that's going to be my first book, is How You Know It, or Knowing. Because I already wrote it, I just need to tweak it and do whatever else I want to it. But healing what you know. And most of the people say, well, I don't know why this is happening. You do know. And it's important.
You just don't want to look at it because it's too painful, and I don't want to go back to that point. Why are you making me go back to that point?
Mm-hmm. And some people say, well, no, I look at it. Well, yeah, you are talking about it all the time. That's why you use the healing tools, so that if you're going to talk about it, you may as well heal it out or resolve it out. Whereas your body, you've already said in the subconscious mind that you do not want to go there again. That's why you've taken on addictions, and you have taken on different ways of acting, and different, because you're trying to find a way to resolve this so you don't ever have to go there. Well, we're giving you a resolution. We're telling you, if you do this, and if you work with me or Jen, and we take, and if we do this step by step by step, you will create a resolution. You will create healthier results and be in healthier alignment with your true self. We can guarantee that because you have got to first want it and then follow through. The doctor can't guarantee anything because he's asking you to exercise. You could lie to him. Yeah, I exercise. Ain't doing any good. But he just can't sit there and hold your hand either. But we're saying when we hold your hand.
That's one reason why I wouldn't want to go to the doctor or dentist, because I'd ask, did you do that? No, and I would just be like, okay, I'm going to go to this place and feel guilty. That's awesome. Here's $20 copay for feeling guilty.
Well, I had one client that said yes, they wanted
And
it.
yes, I own that. But,
Yeah. But one person, they said, I'm here, I'm doing what you're asking. I says, no, you're not. The piece that I'm asking you to let go of, you're saying you don't want to. Well, why the hell should I? I said, then why are you trying to tell me you want a healthy result, and I'm telling you that this is what's stopping you, and you won't do that part? I can't guarantee that you're going to do what I am asking you to do, but I can tell you I see the pattern, and if we keep working on it, and some people get so stuck in their head that I healed that with one session. I'm sorry, sometimes it takes lifetimes, soulful lifetimes.
I've been at this 7 years working with you as my mentor and teacher, and I'm still at it because we're going to the core.
Yes.
We're working on the deep
If
stuff.
your stuff was done, you wouldn't have a journey of life. There would be no reason to be on this
gone.
planet Earth. You would be in another place, somewhere else. But so people have got to stop looking at it and going, I'm not done yet, what the hell, this shit don't work. I'm sorry, it's that attitude that you have to evolve from. Okay, there are all of these steps that you need to evolve from.
Right.
And so, but here's the thing, people forget to look back because they didn't witness all of the things that good that came out of it. Jen, I said, okay, Jen, I'm going to start this new class, and it's a free class, and I said, all right, I want you to look back, think about it, tell people why it's important to have this class. And as she started doing it, she didn't realize, she knew she was hurt, but she didn't realize how broken she was. So you're going 7 years later, damn. Remember what you were saying?
Yeah, because, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've been at this 7 years, when am I going to be done? When I'm no longer existing on this plane of existence, as Brenda just said. So, yeah, I'm still at this, but like I said, we're at the core. The surface stuff, looking back at where I was on that journey 7 years ago, oh my gosh, I was broken. This process that I had gone through, they said, no, you're not going to have this, and I was devastated. I moved across country, I left what I knew to come here, and that was, awesome on one level, but sad on another. I was still angry, and everything was drama, and I was still, I was on my antidepressants still for clinical depression. And now, having gone through the journey of using those, tools for resolution, if you want to call them, soulpathics, all these other different modalities for healing the symptoms and creating a resolution for myself. Yeah, I'm still working on my stuff, but the surface stuff feels okay. I'm starting to see the results in magnificent ways. I've actually been blogging about, you know, the 2012 year-end wrap-up. Yeah, it's into 2013, but whatever, get over it. But I'm looking back and I'm saying, oh my gosh, look at how many awesome things happened because I took the steps forward. I took responsibility for it. I had, yes, it was not cool, you know, it wasn't the best thing to have to go through the process of divorce, but it's, you know, taking a look and say, yeah, that's not working. Okay, I'm going to take responsibility for it. That's the active part, and then create all the resolution about that, and now go toward the core.
And
look,
so
oh
we
my
got
gosh,
10 seconds left, and we want to say thank you for joining us today. And you can always go to mwreveal.com for show times of all the shows we do and other ways to join us and find us and be with us.
We'll talk about more later. Bye.
Bye.